Hey, I'm Curtis, also known as uh, Non-Fungible Curtis, the Crypto Prophet, the Crypto Cashier, but I'm pretty humble. I just go by Curtis. And yeah, I work at Edge, and this is my team member, Mike.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm the head of support over at Edge. And today we have Bitlectro with Keel and Gabriel. If you guys want to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Thanks for having us. I'm Gabriel, co-founder of Bitlectro Labs, an NFT brand, and let Keel intro himself.
Can you guys hear me right now?
You're muted, Keel.
Hold on one second.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. I don't think my earbuds are working, but hi, I'm Keel, co-founder of Bitlectro Labs as well.
Cool. So with any, you know, Twitter Spaces project, what is it? Tell us. Let everyone know. I don't know what it is, so let me know.
Just want a full rundown on the project, basically.
I guess
Yeah.
we'll maybe first, uh, for people that I guess probably most people know what NFTs are, but maybe just like a brief little summary of the NFT, and then yeah, into your project.
Yeah. So, brief summary of NFTs in general. Okay. So NFT obviously stands for non-fungible token. What does fungibility mean? Well, most things in the world are non-fungible physical goods. My T-shirt here, I know it's mine. The car I drive, I know it's mine. So non-fungible things are, non-fungible things tend to be or fungible things tend to be the odd one out, right? So we're talking about like digital currencies, balances on a bank ledger, etc. So most digital goods tend to be fungible. Well, that's where the magic of blockchain comes in. Is we create a permanent ledger that allows what's normally a fungible digital object to become non-fungible by producing a custody chain of ownership. So really it's just a digital piece of media that you own, whether it's music, a photograph, a piece of digital art, a manuscript. It can be really anything that you can link or reference in a piece of metadata on the blockchain. I know there's some technical jargon in here, but fundamentally it's a digital good that you can take ownership and custody of. So that's what a non fungible token is, and I'm sure there's uh, many people in the audience that might be unfamiliar that are still scratching their heads at that answer. But I'll give a rundown of what Bitlectro is. So we're an NFT brand. We produced a couple of generative collections. When I say generative, we're talking about um, a collection of substantial size where we've used some scripts and some programmatic generation to combine elements, whether those elements are visual or in our case, audio as well. So our collections have a 2D visual component and they also have unique songs. So the first collection was a collection called Dream Loops, which were 10,000 pieces of 2D pixel art, with each having an accompanying chip tune. A chip tune is just it's like a form of video game music, basically. It's a sort of a genre that you don't usually hear spoken about very often. But we also had a physical media component wherein you can redeem some of the dream loops to get a cassette tape or a vinyl record of an album that Keel, my co-founder, produced. He's obviously one of the members of the notable indie band Starfucker. So he had this wonderful stable of guest artists come in and actually produce the whole A side of the record, which are essentially remixes or new arrangements of songs that were found in the generative collection. I know most people are probably listening on Twitter Spaces, but I'm sure you have some in the Edge offices. This is one of our neat
Mm-hmm.
cassettes, and I've got a stack of vinyl records behind me. So it's kind of fun. So they get a full album with it. At least some subset of our holders get an album. And fast forward a few months after that, we launched that collection in June. We then produced another NFT collection. This time it was a profile picture collection, which we know is quite popular in the space, whether it's the Bored Apes or the Cool Cats or Doodles, etc. So we produced a series of pixel art avatars. I say we. Keel is the grand artist on all of this, by the way. So most of the visual assets and music assets are produced by him. He has collaborated with one of his Starfucker bandmates on the second music collection, and we actually have an upcoming collab with Sergio Vega of the Deftones, which we can't share too much about yet, but that's likely in the pipeline for a couple months from now. But so we produced the Dreamers collection, which had a new collection of music. They are avatars. They sort of exist in the same universe as Dream Loops, our first collection. And now we're basically working to produce some freebies, if you will, or some perks or utility, but how it's referred to in NFT space, for holders of both collections. We actually have what we call a VX avatar collection in production for all Dreamers holders. If you're familiar with any of the metaverses, you'll know that some of them are built out of voxels, which are basically cubes, as opposed to polygons, which are more common in video games. So we're producing voxelized versions of the Dreamers avatars, which people can use in the Sandbox, which is sort of the hottest metaverse out there right now, even though they're basically in alpha or beta stages. They have public playable windows of the game for testing purposes, but I think they're hoping to launch in June. And then we also have a play-to-earn game that we're currently working on, but that's slated for roughly Q3, Q4 of this year. Yeah, so that was high-level overview. There's a lot of nuances to things we do, but that's roughly what Bitlectro has done and what our collections are to date.
So can I just derail and ask like a question when I was reviewing the project that I wanted to know the answer to? The music that's created, is that also procedurally generated or combined randomly, or are you actually making those tracks?
I produce the tracks. They're programmatically combined, so everything that's in the songs has been composed by hand, but then the combinations have been run through a script.
Okay, yeah, so you do keep them all like the same key and beat, and they just kind of randomly get put together. And
Correct.
That's pretty rad. Yeah, cool.
Fun. It's a lot of fun to put them together.
That's what it seemed like when I was listening to some of them, and then just like based on how the project was working, I was like, okay, I get what that's doing. That's pretty neat. And I couldn't remember, what is the name of those files?
Well, the files, like what type of files are, like format?
Just don't be crazy. Couldn't come up with it.
Well, they all start as WAV files, but I'm writing MIDI data and running it out through some physical objects. One is the first collection was done through an NES with a MIDI-NES cartridge. So it takes a MIDI input and then it runs all the sounds through the NES sound chip. The second collection was done, I ran the MIDI through a Sega Genesis synth, which it's a desktop synthesizer, but it's based around the sound chip from an old Sega Genesis. It's like an FM synthesizer, similar to like a Yamaha DX11.
Sure, for sure.
So the vinyls that can be redeemed is the collection of songs, I guess, that are on the NFTs or different music?
It is, there's two sides. The first side is there are some of the songs from the collection, but I created like full album versions of them with like musicians and vocalists and stuff. The second side is kind of a mega mix of different songs from the NFT collection, the way they are in the actual NFTs.
And as far as
it's like
project is concerned, sorry.
Is that talking over someone?
Sorry, it's almost 2 hours. I think there's a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, it's odd. So as far as this project is concerned, what made you decide to go down the NFT route?
A few things. So I've been in the crypto space for some time. I know everyone likes to say that, but I have the Genesis wallets to prove it. But launched my first crypto company back in 2016. We were focused on cannabis payment processing, built some point of sale software, did some government affairs even that resulted in basically a crypto-based pipeline in the state of Nevada for remittances to the cannabis industry. So we were actually getting ready to execute on this pilot program, and then COVID killed the pilot basically. So I ended up leaving that company. They're still around. They're still planning to execute on that. But I was sort of in between projects, if you will. I'm sort of a serial entrepreneur. And Keel and I, who've known each other for decades now, were chatting one day and looking at NFTs. And we thought, like, well, what would we do? Like, what would be within our purview? What's something we would collect if we were to produce a collection? Well, Keel's a professional musician. We both grew up playing video games, whether it was consoles. We used to do LAN parties in our parents' garages. So we have a lot of retro nostalgia for the 2D state of things back when computers were far less powerful. And we just got to work. And I reached out to a couple engineer friends of mine and said, hey, do you want to build an NFT collection? And they said, sure. And picked up some more personnel, marketing friend of mine, built a little team, launched it. The other thing that was important was we wanted to do more than just launch a JPEG collection. So we added a music component. And then we thought, well, what if we do physicals of the music? I'm a vinyl collector, I'm a cassette collector, among other things. If I turned my camera around, you'd see all these weird tchotchkes in my room. But we wanted to bring a little more value than just having these digital goods. And then we set a pretty reasonable price point for them as well, which at the time was roughly $65 USD, which in current NFT markets is mere peanuts, right? We see collections going for 0.1 ETH routinely, and then some set, well, I don't want to call any out, but some selling for over an ETH and then dumping off to fractions of their initial sale price. So we've always taken an ethical approach to this stuff, even though we know the space is filled with bad actors. But having a background and some experience in crypto, I thought, well, this looks like a fun market and a fun space where we can innovate and add some things to it that maybe other teams hadn't considered. So we decided to dive in.
Sure. Yeah, that is unique. What was maybe your one or two biggest hurdles making this project?
I'll take that. Keel, if you want to jump in. Sort of figuring out the process. I mean, now it's pretty well published, how to produce a generative collection. A lot of teams using image magic or custom scripting to combine elements, especially on the visual side. We had to figure out how to do generative components on the audio side, and many teams have engineered similar systems. The other stuff was building smart contracts from the ground up. Some of my engineers had never messed with Solidity, even though they had some familiarity with crypto. That was a hurdle. Another interesting hurdle that many on this call will relate to is gas pricing and the cost of launching a collection. We managed to get incredibly lucky the weekend we deployed our contract, wherein we picked up a gas price of like 12 Gwei or something like that, which happened to be like one of the only pockets post Q2 of 2021 where you could get in at that price. And then we did the math, like I think the week before we were like, oh, this is going to cost us a considerable amount of money to launch this. And it was, the whole thing was self-funded. We weren't just an outside investment. We were just, a fun team of people with unique backgrounds in the space launching a generative collection. And we thought, oh crap, it's going to cost us, $60,000-$70,000 to maybe launch this, and then it ended up being a fraction of that. So, a few hurdles. The other thing's finding your audience too, right? When we first conceived this, it was roughly February of last year. It was almost 12 months to the day, and then we went through months of producing assets, putting the team together, marketing, building out all of your community channels, which like Discord's so important, and then we actually started with some metaverse activations too. We built a couple galleries and we throw events in there routinely. In fact, we have one today, but that's another big part of it too. Like there's some really great NFT projects out there with solid engineering teams that are doing really novel and clever things, whether it's on Ethereum mainnet or Solidity, but they're testing the boundaries of what you can do with smart contract deployment and development. But they don't have an audience. So one of the other bigger hurdles is, well, let's find a community that resonates with us. And in our case, it's a lot of people like ourselves, mid-30s professionals that have some retro nostalgia for video games and vinyl records. We actually have a lot of musicians in our community. No surprise there. I mean, in fact, right. one of our community managers is also a professional musician. I'll just throw him under the bus here, but Davey Pierce of the band of Montreal. So we end up collecting this group of people that are sort of coming together for common interests, which I like. Contrast that to a lot of what I see in the space, and so much of it is obviously driven around financial gain, as NFTs are sort of a financial product. They're an extension of cryptocurrency, which is a financial product.
Right.
It's nice to have a community that's gleaned onto the sort of cultural interests that we have, rather than just trying to find something to quickly flip into a marketplace. Yeah. I don't know if Keel wants to add anything there. I just sort of hijacked the hurdle question.
No, you're much more eloquent than I am, so that was perfect.
One of the questions that I have is given gas prices, and honestly, it becomes an accessibility issue for a lot of people. Did you guys ever consider any other chains, Polygon, Avalanche, launching on those as well?
Polygon for sure. That's kind of our favorite alternative currently.
Yeah, and FTM even. Yeah, that was and still is an internal debate we have. So some more context and color around our first launch. We sort of crowdsourced a lot of the opinions on where people wanted to see it, and the resounding response was Ethereum. And we had intentions of launching our second collection on Polygon. So the Dreamers were launched in two parts. The Dream Loops holders received one Dreamer for every 2 Dream Loops they held. So we roughly allocated like 4,500 as a free airdrop claim. And then additionally, we sold another 10,000 of them. And we sort of went into our private chat of holders and said, hey, we're thinking of launching this on Polygon because we can airdrop them to you for free. You don't have to claim from a contract. They're not gas-less, but the gas fees essentially cost fractions of a penny. And the overwhelming response, maybe 95% of our users were like, no, like if I'm going to be real mad if you put this on Polygon. So we backtracked and launched on Ethereum. And now we're developing some sort of play-to-earn protocols. We call it the Battle Arena. I've given a few talks on this on our Discord AMAs, and I can explain what the product is if we want to go into it. But we're realizing like Ethereum mainnet is no place for that. It would be untenable as a product if we had to pay a gas fee for every microtransaction that's occurring in the ecosystem. So now we're exploring other Ethereum virtual machine networks. Polygon's the top candidate, but I'm a big fan of FTM. I do a few things on that network pretty regularly. Avalanche is on the short list as well. So is Flare. We talked to their team a little bit, but it's, they're still new, not a lot of buzz. So Polygon and FTM would be the 2 top candidates. But yeah, I'm a big fan of layer 2 networks, especially while we're in this massive growing pain that is Ethereum and its gas prices, unfortunately. So hopefully we have a solution to that this year. But in the interim, it forces teams like our own that are trying to do interesting and novel things using Solidity and using smart contracts on Ethereum virtual machines. We have to look at layer 2 solutions, otherwise the products can't exist, unfortunately.
So you said you queried your fans or user base, however you worded it, and they immediately pushed back on the use of Polygon. Did they give any other reason, or was it just pitchforks? No.
It's market valuation. So looking at the current NFT ecosystem, there's a few really solid projects that use Polygon as sort of their main network, right? Like Avagachi is one of my favorites, Polygon based. Zed Run horses primarily live on Polygon, even though there's sort of a hybrid. And then there's a handful of really cool PFP projects on Polygon, etc. And even though there's native OpenSea support and there's easy bridges and access to move your Ethereum or your USDC or whatever it is over to Polygon, I think that's still a big point of friction for some users. I think some users are averse to paying even the high gas fee to migrate the funds initially, even though everything's cheaper once they're operating on the ecosystem. And then subsequently, because of that, most projects that launch on Polygon as their primary network, they don't typically do well in terms of secondary sales. So as much as we say, oh, this is all about the music or all about the community or whatever, I mean, there's no small subset of your user base that is here strictly for the money. They're out here speculating on NFTs, right? They want those NFTs to be on whatever the primary network is, whatever the network is that has the trading volume. So the main pushback wasn't a nebulous answer at all. It was these won't have any value if you launch them on Polygon. Don't launch them on Polygon. So subsequently we didn't.
Good. Yeah, it does feel like you're kind of out in the ends of space when you're on like Phantom's NFT marketplace and Polygons, because it's like, who's even here? Am I the only person on this marketplace? Yeah.
Yeah, even Solana. I mean, same thing. I'd
Yeah.
say they're, while they're not Ethereum based, I buy a moderate amount of Solana NFTs. We have actually users in our community that launch really good projects on Solana, and I pick some up just to support. But then there's no trading volume.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting way for people to find, whether friends or their existing community, to give them patronage, through NFT sales on some of these alternate networks. But it really does hurt the sustainability and tenability of these projects because everyone's glued to OpenSea and glued to mainnet, unfortunately, even though it's clunky and expensive.
Is the hope that the traction of these previous projects will actually create interest in other chains so that you don't have to worry about that?
I think so. I think it's moving in that direction. There's, I'd say, more adoption day over day. Even I see charts like FTM we were just talking about, like Phantom's created. They've doubled their total FTM wallets in the past, I think, like 3 months versus the previous whole year and a half of their existence as a layer 2 network. So people are waking up to them. That being said, I don't have any confidence that anytime soon we're going to see broader adoption of Polygon. I'd say maybe 6 months from now, maybe 9 months from now, we'll be in a place where more users are happy to bridge their funds over. That being said, there are projects with healthy ecosystems on Polygon, and for those of you in the audience that haven't played with it, like go see what Aavegotchi's doing on Polygon. It's a really incredible little play-to-earn system with lots of novel DeFi and staking protocols, and it's all Polygon based. And they have their diehards. Like their engineering team is just stellar. It also is very much draped in like retro nostalgia. It's sort of Tamagotchi meets ghosts, basically. They have their little characters are basically the Aave network ghosts, but they have different features, and now they're building their own little metaverse, 2D metaverse out of, or Gotchiverse out of their ecosystem. But they've managed to make a really fun and sustainable token economy. And if you check the history of their token price, which is Ghost Token, it's relatively flat, which is kind of what I like to see if I'm going to be participating or investing any significant amount of capital on one of these layer 2 solutions.
You mentioned the potential integration with Sandbox. Could you go over that again?
Yeah. I'll let Keel take this one because I'm dominating, but
Oh, no, that's okay. I think I'm having some technical problems, so I'm not sure if my mic sound got off or not. But yeah, currently we're building a collection for the Sandbox right now, the voxel avatars that Gabe mentioned earlier. We have a 3x3 parcel there, which is extremely large. It's about the size of like a small city, pretty much. Currently, we have like a crypto voxel space, and it's about 100 times the size of that. And we've got a partnership with Sandbox, so we're going to be building some pretty cool stuff there. And the avatar collection is pretty neat. It's a 1/1 drop for holders of the Dreamers. So, and it's recreation of your 2D Dreamer that you have in a voxel format. We're excited. I've been playing around with Sandbox's editors and software, and it's all really well made, and it seems like it's going to be a cool platform. They've got a lot of big like corporate partnerships coming in, so I'm optimistic about it.
Cool. I've never played Sandbox. When you say avatars, would that mean just your face will be a dreamer, or how does that work?
Whole body.
Yeah, your entire character will.
Cool.
Yeah, it's like a full body character. We've got some previews on our Twitter if anybody's interested in checking them out. But yeah, it's just a recreation of your Dreamer character in 3D, and we spent several months making them, and they're pretty cool in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's part of the promise of the Sandbox too. So Decentraland is kind of limited in how you can style or dress your avatar. Crypto Voxels is is limited as well. But Sandbox is sort of promising to basically support a lot of 2D profile pictures, some in an automated fashion. So we're actually hand making ours, so we don't have to wait on their team to develop the basically the algorithmic generation of some collections. Like I know they're doing that for the Bored Apes, which is really cool. We're developing ours by hand so we can put them in the wallets of our holders sooner than later. But basically, you'll be able to play as that character in the universe, and it's pretty cool because they're mapped too. So there's Sandbox items that just are endemic to any parcel or any estate, whether it's a sword or various props or things you might use in games, and the characters are mapped to hold and utilize them, and interact with them. So that it's sort of like having a whole bunch of games in a singular ecosystem. And for anyone that played their demo, they had a really nice like platforming game with swords and arrows and skeletons. And I thought, well, this is like a functioning game inside a metaverse that's also got NFT integration. So really impressive stuff. And I think they have another alpha coming out soon, and I highly recommend everyone download it and give it a trial run. It's pretty neat stuff.
So with NFTs, so full transparency, I'm a skeptic, very much so. Where do you see NFTs going, especially developing projects? You're definitely on the pulse more than myself. What is the end goal after images and tying music? What else do you think can be done with NFTs?
Yeah, I have a lot of ideas about this. Well, I'll give you my current take. I think the current market valuations are just out of control, right? So I think a lot of the skepticism of the technology is a byproduct of the fact that we have JPEGs that are selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I myself am guilty of participating in that. I buy them, I trade them, I buy a lot of other projects. I'm a degen, as people like to say. I do see a lot of the value in that. From like a social standing sort of thing, or a use for access, in the case of like the Bored Apes and their events, and access to just even their social group, and the fact that you can pretty radically accelerate your social media following if you're on top of it just by having a Bored Ape, for example. But realistically, like how much should some of these things cost? Like I think about online gaming, whether it's loot crates, skins for weapons in Fortnite or Counter-Strike, or avatars for other games, World of Warcraft items, EVE Online, Star Citizen, whatever. The list is endless. They all have these little microeconomies, some of which require you to spend US dollars. Well, how much does some of that stuff cost? Well, most of it's less than $30, unless you're buying like really special like ships for a game like EVE Online, for example. Well, there's novelty in the idea that we turn those entire ecosystems into NFTs. There is vast resistance from the companies, which now have stated their, well, in the case of Steam, for example, stated they're not pro NFT. Well, why would they not be pro NFT? Well, because it hurts their bottom line. Like the moment I have an open ecosystem where I can sell a CS:GO skin, for example, Counter-Strike, that's a game for those of you that don't know the abbreviation. The moment I have an open ecosystem where I can sell that skin to Keel, and then he can like then cash that out into US dollars that go right back into his bank account. Well, it takes the money out of the Steam ecosystem. So I think some of the places this could go that would be ideally beneficial for the end user or the collector or the speculator are some of these open platforms for online experiences. What we're also seeing a lot of is NFTs for access, whether it's NFTs for access to limited merch. So you have this token that provides you gated Web3 access that just goes into a Shopify store for merch or apparel, membership into various online clubs, whether it's the Bored Apes, access to music, access to anything. A lot of it's about access, open markets aside. That being said, for this to get broad adoption, and this goes back to our earlier topic of Ethereum gas prices, they have to exist in a way that is sustainable and obtainable for the average person. Like, there's also discussion about the climate impact of, say, Ethereum, for example. Like, the footprint of Bitcoin is large. The footprint of Ethereum is large. I'm not going to get out here and say that NFTs are worse than most retail goods, because I think I've seen well, I don't think, I know I've seen some earnest efforts at estimating like the carbon footprint of a generative NFT collection, and it's still smaller than say like selling 5,000 T-shirts, for example. Like that, there's still more of a footprint in producing physical goods, let alone things like air travel, meat production, coffee harvesting and farming. All of those things produce more carbon than say the Ethereum network. That being said, we're looking at scaling solutions that will reduce that carbon footprint dramatically, right? Whether it's layer 2, whether it's Solana. So we take the climate issue out of NFTs. Well, now we're starting to place value on digital goods that have next to zero in terms of carbon footprint. I think that's a positive shift away from valuations on physical goods like Pokemon cards. Um, you know, Vinyl record production is actually quite high when it comes to carbon footprint. Hypebeast sneakers, like all of these things, have a physical toll right on the environment, whereas a lot of digital goods could have a rather insignificant physical toll once we solve the scaling solutions of Ethereum. So that's another benefit I see to this, especially as we're playing in these metaverses more regularly, right? Like I'm a gamer when I have time. Keel and I grew up playing video games together. I have a lot of adult friends, so that's their main hobby. And now they have discretionary income and they're buying expensive skins or ships or in-game items. Well, I think that's kind of cool. Like it means you don't have to go buy an extra physical real world car because now you have this thing that's digital that you might enjoy instead, or maybe it prevents you from spending excess monies on physical goods because now you've placed this higher intrinsic value on digital thing. So I think all of that's a net positive as we sort of shift our cultural alignments about value a little bit.
Sure. So do you believe that the average person will actually look at digital ownership and find just as much value as physical ownership eventually? Because I know that's not the case now. You talk to the average person, that's just not how it works. But is that's the hope then?
Yeah, I mean it depends, right? Like utility varies from thing to thing, right? For some people, a T-shirt is just a garment. For others, it's a type of social signaling, right? Like why the demand for Supreme or Palace sweatshirts? Why is it that every drop they do sells out in 5 minutes? Well, it has nothing to do with the garment. It has everything to do with the social signaling of that object, right? We see a lot of that already in NFTs. What I'm hoping is that we eventually sort of evolve just that type of valuation and speculation into like actual in-game utility or in online world utility that people place value on in a more utilitarian fashion, less of a flex sort of fashion, such that people will participate and hopefully in democratized and decentralized markets. We're moving more and more of our digital or of our real lives online, right? Especially in the midst of a pandemic or the tail end of one, I hope. But I do think, I also think the pandemic was a big part in people being at their computers and NFTs taking off in this little pocket of the internet. But I don't see that slowing down. Like the technology is just going to get further and further advanced, and there's going to be more integrations and touch points to things like NFTs. We've already seen it with Twitter. YouTube talked about it yesterday, released some statements. We obviously know Facebook's exploring metaverse plays and things like this. So, enterprise and legacy brands are jumping on board. And we also know they have massive marketing arms to push this stuff. So I think it's important that people get involved now and sort of champion decentralized avenues for this so that we're not so, steeped in corpo NFTs, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
Yeah, I'm for that. I know you mentioned the pushback from Steam, and with cryptocurrency, you see this a lot. The idea of cutting out the middleman. So obviously, a market like Steam would push back on like skins being NFTs because they want you to use their marketplace, right? So I'm with you on the whole idea of decentralize it all. But then you run into the issue: who's going to develop the games? How are those hosted? There's more hurdles there, but those are good problems to have, right? There's a lot of smart guys out there that can solve those. So I guess one of my little notes of questions I want to ask, as far as like on the music side of things, is there anything like as far as touring or anything in the physical world that you plan on doing with the NFTs in this music project or Dreamers project?
We're planning some live events to coincide with some NFT conferences. We had one conference, but I think that conference got canceled. But we are planning on doing some live performances of some of the stuff from the record, and yeah, collaborating with some other performers and some other projects that are kind of live music based. So we definitely have plans for the real world as well.
Any dates or anything like that? Since we're on Spaces, we can promote that kind of stuff.
Hoping for June. We had something lined up for March that was basically, it was NFT land, which is no longer happening. But now we're looking at June at NFT NYC. That's the plan. A few moving parts there, but yeah, that's where I think our users can expect it.
Cool.
Have you guys talked with anyone about NFTs and DeFi and like fractionalizing and borrowing against NFTs?
Yeah, not something we're doing with our collections presently. I've played with a few of the tools that are out there. Some interesting models. I think that's a kind of nascent pocket of NFTs presently. Like you can go on NFTX, you can go on NFT20. There's fractionalization methods there. It's the other one, fractional.art, I think, is one where you can set voting parameters and fractionalize your NFTs. I'm not convinced of that tech yet, that it's something I want to participate in. It's just not to a place where I'm like comfortable utilizing it. But I do think we're moving in that direction. That being said, I'm also skeptical of the demand, because we've seen a few fractionalization sort of protocols thus far, like the three I mentioned, and they don't have a huge user base. Like everyone knows they're there, but no one's really messing with them. And I think part of at least the present ecosystem of NFTs is you want ownership of the whole thing. Like people like using them as a profile picture. They like selecting the traits, especially when it comes to generative collections or profile pictures, for example. So I can see some of these fractional share platforms taking hold once it's something that's not a generative collection. Like I think it makes more sense for, say, digital real estate, like fractionalizing Sandbox parcels or Decentraland parcels or crypto voxels parcels versus fractionalizing an ape, for example.
Right. Well, I think are we on time? Is it 2:30?
Yeah, we're a little over.
Okay. Well, any closing comments from you guys?
We are a little over, guys, but we could open the floor to any questions that the audience might have. So if anyone has a question, you can request now to be a speaker, but if not, I'll let Curtis and Michael close this up.
What wallets do you guys use?
I have Edge on my phone, actually.
Nice.
Incidentally, I've had an Edge wallet for ages. I use a bunch: MetaMask, Trust. Locally, I have Garda. I have an Electron Bitcoin. I freaking use them all, to be honest with you. Yeah, Phantom for Solana. Yeah, I use a little bit of everything. I'm an OG crypto head though. Bought my first Bitcoin in 2013, yeah. So I've seen the evolution of these things. So it's a whole different thing. It's nice having wallets that you don't have to download the entire ledger for. I'm sure you've synced a wallet back in the day and just waited for the blocks to catch up as you download. So it's the ecosystem has changed so much. I do like Edge's product. I will say that that's been a solid wallet for years, and I've recommended it to friends for specifically for mobile use. Yeah.
Well, and if you're not aware, we do have Wallet Connect, so you can interact with OpenSea and any of the NFT projects on Polygon, Avalanche, FTM, all of them, all with Edge now. Yeah.
We have Danielle who just joined as a speaker. Danielle, do you have a question for the team?
Oh no, I was just jumping on the wallet question of I'm leveraging Edge, Rainbow, and MetaMask, but I just had some thoughts on if you guys had any other opinions on any emerging ones or ones you like better.
I was really impressed with Trust Wallet the other day. We were doing some tests using Wallet Connect on one of our staging environments. I rather like Trust. I have not played with Rainbow. I do use MetaMask on a daily basis. I think it's missing some key features. And this might just be an endemic problem to a lot of desktop or browser-based wallets. Frankly, like the fact that all you need is a singular local password to get into funds. No local two-factor is problematic. So just given the amount of assets that people are transacting on these things, and then specifically for NFTs as well, it's one thing if you're interacting occasionally and then moving things to a cold wallet. It's another if you're storing hundreds of thousands of dollars in JPEGs in NFT format on a browser-based wallet. I don't like that.
on a one step. I thought the same thing too, and I also thought it was weird that I'm testing on a test net and some things were not showing up pulling from my smart contract on MetaMask, and I still can't figure it out. And I honestly think they're just not pulling the metadata from the smart contract on the test net because they're two different URLs.
That's possible. I'll tell you this little piece of insight. Getting metadata refreshes on OpenSea's Rinkeby testnet is also a pain in the ass. There may be some relationship to the issues that they're having.
I think so too.
Frankly.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. So we are definitely early adopters in these things, the support and things. It's kind of buggy and clunky right now.
Incredibly,
which is wild to think. But we're in it in the beginning. But thank you. This was a great conversation today. I appreciate your guys' time as well.
Thank you.
Thank
Glad
you.
to be here.